Have you ever stood up to grab a glass of water, and your dog got up too? You walk to the kitchen, they follow. You head to the bathroom, they follow. You move 2 feet for absolutely no reason, and somehow, there they are again. Most people laugh and say, "My dog is just clingy." But what if that is not the real reason? What if your dog isn't following you because they're needy, but because in their mind staying close to you is one of the most important jobs they have? And once you understand what this behavior actually means, you'll never look at your dog shadowing you around the house the same way again. Because sometimes your dog isn't just being cute. Sometimes they're showing love. And sometimes they're trying to tell you something you really shouldn't ignore. Let's get into it. The first reason your dog follows you everywhere is the simplest and probably the most emotional. You are the center of their world. That sounds sweet, but it is also true in a very literal way. Your dog doesn't have a busy social calendar. They don't have a job to get to. They don't have a group chat lighting up their phone. Their world is built around a few things: safety, routine, comfort, and you. To your dog, you're not just the person who fills the food bowl. You're the person who makes life make sense. You're the familiar scent in the house, the voice they trust, the presence that tells them everything is okay. So when they get up every time you move, it is not always about wanting something. A lot of the time, it is about staying connected to the person they feel safest with. That is why even when you're doing the most boring thing imaginable, folding laundry, brushing your teeth, walking 3 steps to the couch, your dog still wants to be there. To them, being near you is the reward. Now here is where it gets even more interesting. Sometimes your dog isn't just following you because they love you. Sometimes they're following you because they feel responsible for you. That might sound dramatic, but think about how many dogs position themselves right behind their owners, almost like a furry bodyguard with no concept of personal space. They don't just trail behind you. A lot of them stay close, really close. Close enough to brush against your leg, close enough that you almost trip over them. Close enough that you know they're tracking every move. That behavior often comes from instinct. Dogs are deeply wired for social connection. Staying near their person can feel like keeping the group together. And in your dog's mind, separation even inside the same house can feel bigger than it looks to you. That is why some dogs are totally relaxed when you sit down in the living room, but the second you disappear behind a door, they're suddenly alert again. It is not always control. It is not always bad behavior. Sometimes it's simply, "I need to know where you are." Now pay attention to this, because most owners miss it completely. The room your dog follows you into can tell you a lot about how they feel. Not all following is the same. Some dogs race into the kitchen like they've been summoned to the Super Bowl. Some quietly follow you into the bedroom and instantly relax. Some get weirdly tense near the front door. That matters. Dogs build emotional associations with places. The kitchen usually means excitement. The bedroom often means comfort and closeness. The front door, that's a big one. So if your dog follows you toward the door and suddenly slows down, sits, watches intensely, or starts pacing, there may be more going on than simple curiosity. They may already be anticipating separation. And that changes the way the behavior should be read. Because sometimes what looks like, "My dog is acting weird," is really just attachment mixed with uncertainty. And here's another moment that owners often misunderstand. When your dog follows you more than usual, it may have nothing to do with them, and everything to do with you. Have you ever had one of those days where your dog just will not leave your side? They follow you into rooms they normally ignore. They rest their head on your leg. They settle right on your feet. They keep checking on you over and over. A lot of people assume the dog just wants extra attention that day. But dogs are incredibly sensitive to human emotion. They notice changes before we say anything out loud. They pick up on your tone, your pace, your energy, your tension. Even the little changes in your routine that you don't think anybody else would notice. So when you're stressed, sad, drained, overwhelmed, or just not fully yourself, your dog may respond by staying closer. Not because they understand every detail of what's wrong, but because they know something feels off. And their response is often simple: "Then I'm staying here." That's one of the most beautiful things about dogs. They may not know how to solve your problems, but they'll still sit beside you like they've made it their mission not to let you go through it alone. Now let's talk about the part that really matters. Because there's one change in this behavior that owners should never brush off. If your dog has always followed you and suddenly stops, that can be a sign something is wrong. A dog who normally shadows you from room to room, but suddenly stays behind, stops getting up, or loses interest in following your movement may not just be having a lazy day. Sometimes that shift can point to discomfort, pain, low energy, stress, or an underlying health issue. Dogs are often very good at hiding when they don't feel well. They don't always make it obvious. They may not cry, limp dramatically, or act the way people expect. Sometimes the first clue is subtle. They just stop doing the little things they always used to do. And if following you was part of their normal routine, losing that motivation can be meaningful. So if your dog's behavior changes for more than a day or two, especially if you notice changes in appetite, sleep, eye contact, playfulness, or energy, it is worth paying attention, because sometimes the quietest behavior change says the most. And now for the moment that says everything about your bond. If you want to understand how deeply attached your dog is to you, don't watch them when you grab the leash. Don't watch them at dinner time. And don't watch when you call their name. Watch them when you first wake up. Before breakfast, before excitement, before the day begins. When you open your eyes, shift under the blanket, or sit up in bed, what does your dog do? Some dogs are already watching. Some lift their head the second you move. Some stand up immediately, like they've been waiting for the exact moment your day starts. That moment says a lot, because it means they're tuned into you before anything fun even happens. Before the treats, before the walk, before the attention. Just you. And maybe that is the real reason your dog follows you everywhere. But because somewhere along the way, they decided that being close to you is where they feel safest, calmest, and most complete. To your dog, you are not just part of life. You are home. So the next time you turn around and almost trip over your dog for the 10th time that day, maybe don't just laugh it off. Because what looks like a small habit may actually be one of the purest forms of love you'll ever receive. And once you see it that way, being followed around the house doesn't feel annoying anymore. It feels like trust. It feels like loyalty. It feels like being chosen again and again every single day.